Okay.
Now
Awesome.
that we're recording and kicking off the healthiest day of the week, finally, sorry for those that are watching the recording a few minutes before this, but I forgot to push record. I'm turning it over to Susan now to kind of share some insight as we go into a new year.
Awesome. Yeah, I called Brad. Those of you that were able to tune into our marathon of just fun and stories yesterday, I called him. I'm like, honestly, my husband asked me, like, are you in fat burn? And those of you that have been in fat burn know what that energy is like. Like, I was like thriving on this dopamine is what Brad called it. Because I called you, Brad. I'm like, I'm like so excited. I was speaking really fast. And he's like, that's just, it's just so cool what people are creating in their lives. And it's so fun to hear the stories. So yesterday was super fun. And just thank you to all who shared. And I think what I'm most excited about is, like, I think we're going to just quadruple that this year of the people that are just starting to decide, like, hey, what am I looking to create this year? And I'm going to start putting action to it. And I'm just excited to celebrate all of them. But, you wanted me just to kind of share real quick on what has really made a difference for me. I lost my weight over 6 years ago. And I think what I heard yesterday from so many of the stories, and something that's really shifted for myself, is my motivation factor, just really changing what I'm focusing on. So I think what fundamentally makes, our program somewhat different and is really shifting, motivating ourselves from focusing on what we want versus what we don't want. So when we're focusing on what we don't want, what I mean by that is we are in a very problem orientation, like we're trying to fix the problem. Okay. So we're like, I don't like this, so I'm going to do this. And what happens is over time, we start to make, we start working towards fixing that problem. And, next thing you know, I'm not talking positive thinking here, by the way, I'm talking about fundamentally kind of, shifting the reason we act to do something. Okay. So, if we're acting just to fix a problem, it's not self-sustainable. It's kind of like that cycle. You hear of yo-yoing. Okay. It's just, but we're talking about fundamentally changing a habit of health. And what that habit is focusing on what we want to create, like an actual reason of why we're moving forward. And so what I heard in every story after story yesterday is people weren't focusing on trying to fix something that they wanted. They knew where they wanted to go. They knew what they wanted to create in their health. And it's actually become the reason that they're acting and the reason that they're starting to implement things in their day-to-day life. And it's actually, like I said, a fundamental habit of health to change our focus and our motivation factor of why we take those next steps. So anyways, that was super inspiring. It's just a really that mind shift. And I think I'm just excited to have more people experience that this year, Brad.
Awesome. Well, I didn't give you much heads up on what we're talking about, but you totally set me up. And this is one of the things we're going to learn during this new year is exactly this. And so maybe some of the people that shared yesterday didn't know that that's what they were going to start doing, but that's something they learned along the way through this program because it's something that we hit on. So this is kind of the prep kickoff. We haven't really officially launched it yet. We talked about it on the stories yesterday, but we're going to officially open this up tomorrow and start sharing it with people. But we're starting off the year with a 5-week a healthy to the core challenge. And we kind of chose this because there are core habits that you build in your life that start to become easier. Like if you watched Antonio's call yesterday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, he's already he has 3 years of practicing health. He's got it down. Oh, it's almost like he doesn't have to think about it anymore. I mean, he does, but he's moving on to the next thing that he's working on because he's made that a habit. It's easier for him to do. So we're going to focus on the core fundamentals that will help you really make a fundamental shift. So many people start diets, health fads, or tons of things that aren't sustainable because of exactly what Susan was talking about. So we're going to start focusing on what we want to create and start developing core habits that are our proven system. I mean, you guys saw the calls yesterday. And I think, Susan, you and I added it up. The people that were asking to share on the calls yesterday an entire weekend to get through. And I'm not talking about picking people. I'm talking about the people who are like, I'm ready, I could share. And we could have gone an entire holiday weekend. So in this challenge that we're going to do, not only are we going to pick health goals, we'll lose weight, we'll get fitter, we'll be feeling great, we'll accomplish a lot of things. We're going to cover education in these 5 core areas that we chose out of Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health. Healthy fueling, because it changes for your goal, and there's a way that we approach that. healthy motion because it's different, but it's a part of a healthy lifestyle. It doesn't need to look like killing yourself at the gym or something that, like for instance, that you don't want. We can start thinking about what you do want. Healthy sleep. That's a fun topic, and we'll go over that. I was actually always blown away by everything I learned about sleep. Healthy mind, more than just knowledge, but also things that create a healthier well-being and mind, and then a healthy community, which is so key. So those are the 5 areas that we're going to go over in 5 weeks. So I thought it was going to be very timely to focus on setting up goals, to learn how to set up goals for success and learning how to set them up. And this is all from chapters 3. And I forgot to put chapter 4 from Dr. A's Habits of Health. And this is actually all part of our program because there is a whole system on how to become optimally healthy. And I'm just going to cover some of that tonight. We're going to give you guys some time to think about something to maybe share. And we will definitely, when we make our launch post on the challenge, we will have you share some of these things. But also share them with your health coach, share them with someone that you're doing, share them with your spouse, best friends. The more people you tell about your goals, the more likely they are to come true. So another reason why we're doing this is, did you know it takes 30 days to build a new habit? So we thought we'd put some fluff in there and make 5 weeks. So just in case anyone gets a late start or, pushes the snooze button on Monday morning, we'll give you a few extra days to build that habit so that when we come out of this, not only are we setting our 2016 on a good course, but we're setting up habits that are sustainable long-term. But additionally, you can't get rid of a bad habit. Again, focusing on what we don't want. You can't say, I want to stop eating junk food, because the only thing you know how to do is not eat junk food. And if you're not eating junk food, the only way you can fail is by actually going and eating junk food or whatever the thing may be. So you can focus on creating a new habit that will replace a habit you don't want. So that's how you create habits of success, is by creating new ones. And it takes 30 days to build them that replace bad ones that you don't want to have anymore. Here's another thing. And again, this blew my mind, and I'm so thankful for this program. I literally remember thinking when I was 10 pounds down in my journey, oh man, I can't wait. Oh, now that I want to lose, like maybe I can lose 5, 10 more. When I get to my goal, I'm totally going to celebrate with a big meal. I literally don't know why I thought that was going to be okay, but I was like, yeah, I'm losing weight. It'll totally just stay off because I don't know how it got on me this time. It's just the way our minds work. But to really find health long-term is what we think health looks like, that we arrive at a goal and we call it, and sometimes you've heard the word maintenance, and we have other words that we call for, because you can't just maintain anything. You either are moving forward or you're moving backwards. So health is actually like the bottom piece right there. You're either going backwards in your health and not really focusing on anything and being victim to the circumstance, or you're focusing on something you're moving forward to. Again, something you do want. And the way you fuel that moving forward is with habits of health and moving it forward. So this is a cool little graphic that we have on this. And mind you don't always have to be like going gung-ho towards something. Literally, it could be as easy as like, I'm just going to be on this health huddle every single Monday. And that could literally be the thing that you're doing active, like you're actively working on it. So when you're actively working on something, you've got motion forward, and it just helps you create more momentum. So this might be like hard for people to understand at first, but we'll go over all this. I remember like when I first started hearing this, I was like, that kind of makes sense. And then the more you go through it, it totally makes sense. And the people whose stories you heard the other day are people that really started to embrace this in their journey. And our program is totally set up to keep this thriving. So Susan, you talked about this. Most people do something. So think about this. This is just an example of a New Year's resolution. Maybe you ate too much during the holiday and you want to start off the year losing weight. This is applicable to any area of your life, mind you. So what happens is you have an intense emotional response. So you're saying, I don't like the way I feel. I want to not feel this way anymore. Well, the only thing you do know is what you don't want. I'm going to say that again. The only thing you do know is what you don't want. So you don't know what you do want. So you'll start taking action. So you'll start taking like, all right, day 1, January 1st, or maybe you even slept in on January 1st, January 2nd, I'm getting started on this. You start taking action and you don't know where you're going. You just know where you're going away from. So that you know what, you're on it a week. Maybe you start eating good for a week. Then you're feeling a little bit better, but you don't remember where you're going towards. You just remember you didn't like the way you felt that one day. And maybe that feeling's already starting to fade. So you start taking less action on that. So you have less emotional conflict. So now you're starting to fall into that yo-yo dieting. You're not creating a structure of health. And that's what Susan was talking about. It is a really cool thing to start saying. I think someone shared it in their story yesterday, was it changed the way I started thinking to what can't I do to what do I want in my life? in every area, mind you, this is the habit of health for all areas. You're like, what do you want your marriage to look like? What do you want your career to look like? What do you want your hobbies to look like? What do you want, the paint color of your room to look like? Just anything you want in your life. And this is how we cover this. This is actually the system that we help get this. And it's called structural tension. And if you haven't heard this before, it's an amazing tool and it's helped me do a lot of things in my life. But basically it starts with figuring out, where am I currently? Like tangibly, like things that you can say, like I'm currently here. Like in this example, in the habit of health, it's talking about losing weight. So it's saying, I'm at a 30 BMI. I'm facing my current reality. I'm at 209 pounds, and that's my starting point. It's just where I'm at right now. I know where I'm at. Where do I want to go? And then you start figuring out where you ideally want to go. So your mind's starting to think about where you want to go. And I got to echo what Susan said. This is not positive thinking. And if you're a positive thinker, that has nothing to do with this. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying this is fundamentally different of changing your orientation, how you want to accomplish something. So, but it is actually, actually another way of saying it, you are thinking positively because you're focusing on what you want as opposed to what you don't want. But I just want to make sure I differentiate the two on this. So you start figuring out where you want to go. And that can change, mind you, because sometimes when we get started in our health or different things in our life, we can't even comprehend moving that far in our life because we haven't had that much success before. So I think multiple people yesterday said, the more I lose, the lower my goal gets, my goal weight gets, or, my size that I want to get to, or my level of fitness gets. So it can change over time, but you got to know where you want to go. Like for this example, you want to get to a healthy weight. You want to be the 24 BMI because that's considered a healthy BMI. You want to be at 179 pounds because that was the last time you were there and you felt really good. It's not, you don't know if that's exactly where you want to be, but you can visualize what it was like the last time you have it. So you can set out a path and start taking steps towards that goal. And every step you take lands you one step closer to your goal. This is the best way to set goals. And it's how I'd like to encourage you guys to think about this week as we go into setting goals for what we want to accomplish this year and in these next 5 weeks. And then you basically just take action steps that move towards it. Another way of describing this that more people might be familiar with in case you want to make some kind of like, comparison to something you might have heard before, it's like SMART goals. So SMART goals are more accomplished when they're specific. You know what you want to accomplish. They're measurable. So you can actually achieve it because it's something you can measure. It's not like a feeling like I want to feel good. I don't want to feel good, because you can feel good 1 minute and then stub your toe and then you're not feeling good anymore. So just measurable things. Attainable. Are they attainable? Can you achieve these things? Relevant. Just are they relevant to you? That relevant covers a lot of specific areas. And then time intensive. Can you put a time to it so that you know how the timeline should be progressing? So this is not from the Habits of Health system, but I've heard it said multiple times, and structural tension actually really goes alongside these same things right here. So, as you're setting goals, as we go into this, we also encourage people to look at all areas of their life, because health, like you heard yesterday, was many different things to many different people. And it's an amazing thing to realize that health is more than what you eat, the diet you do, the exercise you try to kill yourself on. It's all of those things and none of those things. So we actually have a really cool thing that Dr. Anderson developed. It's called the wellness evaluation. I know you're not going to write down the link at the bottom. It's way too long, but we'll have it posted that you guys can see it, or you can get it from your health coach and you can just fill it out. And this is one of the most important things I've actually found in my most recent health journey, because it helped me evaluate every area in my life. And mind you, neither one of these have to be important to you. They're just a broad spectrum of things that are related to health, or that they've found affect health on large levels to people. Like, you see finances on there, and, you guys, a lot of people dismiss that to the side, like, oh, I don't need to make a lot of money. But actually, it's not really about that. It's, are you creating what you want with your finances? Because different things like, did you know that the divorce rate is over 50% in this country? And the number one reason for divorce causes is money issues. Just things like that. Have you ever had to not be able to go do something because of finances, et cetera? I mean, I'm just using the extreme example because some people usually scratch their head at the finances, but healthy mind. Are you surrounding yourself with the people you want to be? Have you ever looked around and said, do I surround myself with people that make me feel better? Do I do things that make me feel better? Do I do things that I feel like have purpose in the world? And then looking at your health, like this one, just like we're starting with square one. I know I just thought it was how much you exercise and how much you weighed, but really how are your eating habits? What's your weight status? How's your sleeping? How is your sleeping level? That's something I've massively improved over the last little bit. And when you have your first child, thank you for everyone that warned me, heads up on this. It really becomes very important how much you sleep, because it also affects everything. That's something we'll cover in the challenge. Relaxation and everything overall. So if you haven't taken this assessment, please do. It'll actually give you a really good idea of maybe something you want to work in during these 5 weeks, in addition to raising up your fitness and health levels and weight loss, or whatever you want to accomplish. And the first time I did this, I realized, wow, I've really come a long way in different things that I didn't realize I was working on. And it made me identify some areas that I actually do want to work on. So I would highly encourage utilizing this as you set your goals for the next 5 weeks. So that's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. I'm hoping this topic, I remember the first time this started kind of being shared with me, it was kind of a mind blow to me, because I had never really thought this way before. And again, that's one of the most amazing things I've learned from being in this community, is being able to think at a level that I wasn't really ever being shown, in my previous life before Take Shape for Life. So my question for you guys this week, as we're just kind of getting ready to roll into our 5 weeks, I know many of you guys are chugging along. You guys are already rocking and rolling. But what are the habits that you guys want to build in these next 30 days? What are your goals for the new year and the habits that you're looking to take on to improve them? And just kind of take a second to kind of think about that, because additionally, it just feels good to take 30 seconds, 60 seconds. I mean, heck, even an hour, sometimes maybe even a weekend. What do I want to accomplish with my life, and what's important to me, and what do I want to work on next? So, Susan, you kind of started off the call on this. I thought maybe you could help me just kind of give some insight to this topic, from another angle, from someone that I know does this extremely well. And I could call on a bunch of people right now, but since we're starting off the challenge and you were a big host yesterday, I thought you'd maybe speak to it for just a few minutes as we wrap up today.
Just on kind of habits for setting habits up for the next 30 days.
Set up for the next 30 days, and just kind of your thoughts on this topic.
Gosh, it's so small but so profound. And I think the starting point is I've never met two people that want the same things. And we've coached hundreds of people over the last 6 years. And it's just such a great starting point, because sometimes we haven't asked ourselves what we actually want. Like you said, and when you do know, I love how you're like, when you do know what you don't want, just flip that 360 degrees. So 360 or 180? I don't know. Math's not my thing, but just flip it over, and it's the exact opposite of that. And it's time to get back to dreaming, because you can create whatever really you do desire in your life. But first, it's finding out what is it and what is it that you want, and actually start writing those down. So it's powerful to write it down, but it's powerful to share them with someone. So whether that's a spouse or a friend, but to say it out loud, because the first time I actually said out loud, like spoke over my life and actually said things that I wanted and heard myself say it and realized how far away from it that I actually was, that was really when I realized that created that tension that you talked about for me to want to take the action steps to start moving towards where we really desired to be. So I'd encourage everyone to make this the year. It's not about like dreams. Like we don't want to get out too far into fantasy land. Let's talk about what you can create in 30 days and in 6 months, and start just taking the next steps to start implementing in your life to move you forward to those things. So I just find it really exciting and how empowering that is, that every person on this call is worth it. And I believe in everybody. Don't you, Brad? Right? Like we've seen lives just fully transformed. And so we're just excited to celebrate them.
We have, and that's why this is one last topic. I didn't reference this in here, but when Dr. Anderson in the Companion Guide to the Habits of Health, it sets out a bunch of different goals that they ask you to think on, and it asks you to think about it in 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year increments, because it can kind of changes the trajectory on how your mind thinks of things. So anyways, I thought this was a good topic. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And that's my question for you guys this week, to spend some time pondering as we do this, because we're going to do our official, goals in on the scales, whatever, setting up our intention for this 5 weeks at this Sunday. What do you want to accomplish this year? What do you want? That was the most encouraging thing someone ever asked me. It honestly kind of frustrated me at first, because I don't know what I want. And then I started thinking about this and surrounding myself with people like this. And this is one of the most important pieces you can implement in your life, a practice, a habit, mind you, to start creating optimal health in your life. So this week, I'm going to leave you with something incredible to ponder. So thank you, Susan, for helping out. And just thank you all, everyone who shared yesterday. I could have called on a bunch of people to actually speak on this, but I felt like we had 50 plus people set an example of this yesterday. So, if you like it, they didn't do that by accident. They constantly are asking themselves what they need to achieve. It's not perfect. It's usually, I think someone posted, I think it was Jennifer Lewis posted that thing. What success people think success looks like. And they think it looks like a straight line, like going straight up. And it actually looks like this whole mess. And then you land up over there. So it's not perfect, but it is a journey. And that is one of the most important things that have made my squiggle lines right here a little bit straighter, if you will. So with that being said, guys, have a fantastic week. I think we're all stepping this week with a lot of inspiration and motivation. So let's funnel this in. Let's and again, prep work. Prep up your healthy environment as we get ready to run into our 5 weeks. So again, another tip I would give you as we leave here today is what are you doing to set up your environment for success in addition to what you want to create over this season. So with that being said, guys, let's go make it a great week. Susan, were you going to add something else?
Add something just because, like something popped into my head when I think of, and if you're going to write something down, write it, say, I want, and fill in the blank. And the minute you find yourself writing, I should do this, or I need to do this, or I have to do this, if you can remove those words from your vocabulary, because I'll have a lot of coaches say, well, I know I need to. I'm like, you don't need to do anything. What do you want to do? It's really freeing. And then they'll say, I know, but I should do. No, you don't need to should yourself to death. Just what do you want? So really think of in terms of what do you want? And if you don't have those, as we write our goals next week on the challenge, it'll be fun to see who picked up on that tip and just write, this is what I want this year. It'll be pretty exciting.
I love that. So with that being said, everyone have a great week. For everyone that is going to join in, we have the leadership call every single Monday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Dr. Anderson, our medical director and the guy that came up with this crazy system that changed so many lives, speaks to us. So hop on over and join in, and we'd love to see you there. Guys, have a great night and a great week.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you all that inspired this topic. It was basically all the stories we shared yesterday.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you. We'll talk to many of you guys this week. Let's make it a healthy week.